Pressure group Occupy Ghana has given the Auditor General a 14-day ultimatum to act on retrieval of millions of Ghana cedis from individuals and institutions or face legal action. Within the same 14-day period, Occupy Ghana has also charged the Auditor General to disclose details of reward schemes established for persons who provide information leading to the recovery of funds arising from audits undertaken into reported cases. So the non-partisan pressure group made these demands in a letter to the AG Department dated January 9, 2015 and signed by George Anda, a member of the group. The letter has also requested the AG to disclose copies of any speculations of disallowance and surcharge over issued to and served on any heads of departments or institutions under the Audit Service Act of affected persons under the Local Government Act. My name is Aisha Ibrahim, and this is today's big story. So we're talking today's big story, and we're also told that the letter from Occupy Ghana is actually also requesting a disclosure of a copy of the certification issued in one court case involving a surcharge referred to by the AG, and actually also demanding copies of adverse comments received from Parliament and the development partners on the disallowance and surcharge powers. Well, joining me online is Abraham Amaliba. He's the NDC. He's a member of the NDC legal team. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining me.
Good evening, and good evening to your viewers.
Well, does this 14-day ultimatum that has been served the AG's department, are you worried about this ultimatum given the AG's department?
Well, sorry, I'm not, because I'm not an Auditor General, but what I can say is that this 14 days is not borne out by the law. It's not supported by the Constitution. If you look at Article 187, Clause 7 of the Constitution, it provides that the Auditor General shall not be subject to the direction and control of any other person or authority. Now, I see this ultimatum given to the Auditor General as a directive. I see it as trying to control the work of the Auditor General, and that flies in the face of the Constitution. So I think that if they are aggrieved about anything that the Auditor General has done, their best bet is to go to court, but not to be issuing ultimatums and deadlines to the Auditor General. It's not subject to the control of anybody except the President. And even there, the President must be acting in accordance with the Council of State or with the advice of the Council of State. So the Auditor General is an independent body, it's an independent institution, and cannot take instructions from other persons.
Abraham, let me hang you on a while because I have Franklin Kojo, who is a member of Occupy Ghana, on the line. Good evening, Franklin. Thanks for joining me.
Good evening.
And so, on what basis are you making these demands from the AG's department?
Well, good evening, madam. I'm sure that you've been following the story. It just didn't start today. And you recall that when we initially issued those statements reminding the Auditor General of his duties, this is the same posture that we are hearing right now, essentially that he cannot be compelled. But when the matters were drilled down further, the Auditor General sent very highly powered delegation to our legal team and actually agreed with us and pleaded in a confidential letter, pleaded for more time. But we said, well, it was important for the Auditor General to explain why they haven't been active, they haven't yielded to their constitutional mandate. As it turns out, they agreed that yes, they are supposed to be performing those roles, and that they have cited instances. In fact, they did cite a single instance where they have been effective. It appears, though, from our reading, that since 2002, because that's the period from which we require data, Unfortunately, the Auditor General have been quite sleepy. And so, by agreeing with us in a confidential letter, which we chose not to publish, because, well, as it was, after they realized their folly, they came back and pleaded for more time. But we then now decided to respond fully and then tell them that, look, we first gave a 30-day ultimatum, but out of respect, because in line with legal issues, the lawyers are telling us it is good to give more time than you even asked for. So the 30 days lapsed, and now, after the Auditor General replied formally to the confidential letter, we deemed it finally that there was a prima facie case to send the Auditor General to court to compel him to perform his duties. That is how come the 14-day ultimatum has been given. Don't forget, Madam, that even before these matters, this 14-day ultimatum was given, every democratic-minded individual in this country, from the president to the finance minister, in his budget statement, have made serious, have given serious indications, orders actually, that the Auditor General must ensure that he performs his role. If you Google your partner station, TFM, President orders or directs that AG should enforce its own rules, you find all of that there. And the budget statement, I've forgotten the particular paragraph, it states for the first time ever that the report of the Auditor General will be enforced, to be implemented. So in the face of profligate abuse, in the face of corruption, never seen before, and in the face of wanton dissipation of public funds, it only means that it only behooves on democratic-minded individuals within Occupy to take up this action. So, Madam, these are the matters, and that's where we are.
But I have Abraham Amaleba on the line, and he has just said that what you're doing is not within the law. Are you in the confines of law in doing what you're doing?
Mr. Amaleba is a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. Our legal team obviously have considered everything else. And as I say, there are matters Mr. Amaleba may not be aware of, and for which I did not intend to share the contents of the confidential letters that the Auditor General himself wrote to us. First of all, acknowledging and accepting that they've not performed their duties creditably, and pleading for more time, and then made all manner of gave all manner of reasons why they ought to they have performed just a single of their tasks in the ensuing year. And so we decided that we needed full disclosure. So as we speak, for me, as I'm not a lawyer, I'm only looking at the diplomatic aspect of this whole engagement, to the extent that if a confidential letter was written, but we wrote our letters and published them publicly, the Auditor General chose to write to us confidentially, accepting what we agreed with us, but then gave reasons that we thought were not tenable. And so that's the only reason why the legal team thought, and of course convinced all of us, that this was a matter that was needed to go to law. I think we've gone beyond that first leg of whether someone can compel the auditor or not. I think we've gone beyond that.
Okay, let me hang you on and go back to Abraham and find out some legal responses. Abraham, having listened to Franklin and the fact that there's been some negotiations behind the bar, do you think it's still necessary to go for this ultimatum, 14 days ultimatum?
Those negotiations haven't held behind closed doors cannot write or rewrite the Constitution. Don't forget that the Auditor General is not a lawyer. The Auditor General himself is a layman when it comes to law. And so he could be in a mistaken belief that he has a responsibility to agree to the ultimatum given to him. Now, the appropriate person who would normally defend the Auditor General is the Attorney General. And the Attorney General has a legal mind, which the Auditor General doesn't have. So all these behind closed doors negotiations do not legalize what we have seen as a breach of the Constitution. When push comes to shove, it is not the Auditor General who will be responding to Occupy Ghana. It is the Attorney General. And that is where the differences will come. That is where the Attorney General will now be pointing at the law that I'm pointing out to. But it is okay if they decide that they want to resolve their matters behind closed doors. But then I am of the view that in these matters, the court is the final arbiter. And I'm happy that they say they are going to court. This will bring finality and closure to Article 187 of the Constitution. So I will encourage them to go to court and to let the Supreme Court or the High Court in this matter resolve, give a pronouncement on this matter.
But why is it difficult for government to retrieve monies belonging to the state, considering the fact that the country needs those monies badly?
That is not true. In which case are you talking about? Are you talking about the national service case where people are paying? Are you talking about
judgment debts, for instance?
Judgment debts, for instance, where in the case of Wyoming, where he also had to exercise his right as a citizen to go back to court to challenge the Attorney General, which has stalled the process for now because we are in court with him. And so it's not as if there's a deliberate attempt. In the Wyoming case, for instance, the Attorney General filed processes to execute that judgment. He also has a right as a citizen. He has also filed documents in court or processes in court challenging those processes. And so would you therefore say that we should jump the gun? Don't we need to go through those motions in court? And so there's no deliberate attempt to refuse to recover money. We are in a democratic society, and if you take one step, another person takes the other step. Some monies are being paid from the JIDA account. If you say that, probably you expected that by now, the amount of money the people have to be higher. I agree with you, but some money has been retrieved from the Auditor General AG, and you heard the Dominic Ayine mention that. So it is not entirely good. It's difficult, or that the government is not doing anything at all. It's not entirely true.
Well, let me go back to Mr. Franklin Kojo. Mr. Franklin Kojo, recently we heard that some monies have been retrieved from public institutions. Shouldn't that be an encouragement for you to rather encourage the AG's department to do more than to issue an ultimatum?
Have you heard that it was the AG? It was the colony comes from the sea. That received a negligible amount of 3 million citizens. Also pointing to the fact that the Auditor General has been very sleepy on his job, because that is what the Auditor General is supposed to do. I haven't seen the Auditor General retrieving any monies at all. What we've heard is that there's been some attempts to retrieve some monies out of close to 1 billion Ghana cedis that is missing. If you combine JIDA and SADA and all those other corruption, corrupt acts. Now, 40 million Ghana cedis from a significant figure looks to me like baby steps. But even though that is commendable, the question will be, why do we allow the processes to go on for people to mismanage and embezzle funds? And I think people ought to be put before, while having retrieved those monies, the criminal acts themselves have got to be prosecuted and put behind bars. Otherwise, we'll be going in a very circuitous manner. As I say, these are matters of the Auditor General's matter is heading for court, safe if the Auditor General saves himself within the 14-day period. I'm not a lawyer once more, but I have seen the documents and I've convinced beyond reasonable doubt that it is the judge, well, the court that would have to determine the matter finally. But if I see the letter, the the letters that the Auditor General wrote, they were advised by their lawyers because they stated all of that as well.
But Abraham has just outlined some challenges facing the Ages Department. Shouldn't that prompt you to kind of tone down for the Attorney General's Department? I mean, considering the fact that you're facing a lot of challenges.
I don't know of the challenges mentioned, except to suggest that the Auditor General is not a lawyer. Indeed, if you, madam, are accused of committing a crime or doing something, you wouldn't represent yourself, even if you were a lawyer. Most of the time, it's not advised. You then go for a lawyer. So if any state entity has been accused of not performing their duty, even if they are not lawyers, they would definitely have to be represented, in this case, by the Attorney General. And Lawyer Malaba is right on that score.
And so before issuing the 14 days, could you enlighten us on some of the key discussions you've had so that we will all be on the same page with this 14 days ultimatum?
Oh, the discussions were all out in the letter and the press statement that were released today, that the explanations given us were not enough. They did not address the functions of the Auditor General to constitutionally surcharge people they know have misappropriated funds. I think that the dereliction of duty is actually on the government of the matters. I think that whatever discussions we have, confidential, diplomatic or not, as long as they were not germane to the functions of the Auditor General, we thought that we should come out and publicly state that while we will not disclose the details of the confidential letter, our course, essentially, is that the functional duty of surcharging delinquents who mismanage our funds have not been performed creditably. And for those, we are seeking those reliefs and possibly release of the court. So those are the issues.
Mr. Maleba, I believe you're listening to the conversation, but my question is, we agree, for instance, let's go back to judgment debts, for instance. We agree that some monies have been retrieved from public institutions. But the question many ask is, what has happened to the bigger amounts, for instance, involving individuals like Woyome, firms like Isofoton, Waterville, and the others?
I think the Attorney Department, or for that matter, the Attorney General, will be in a better position to answer this question. But the information I have is that, and I alluded to that in my earlier comment, that Wyoming has also gone back to court to challenge the Attorney General for serving him with an execution notice or the processes that was filed in court. And so, because of that challenge, that matter must be heard to determine whether the Attorney General can even proceed to recover the money from Wyoming. With Isofoton and the other companies, I am told that Isofoton has gone back to the international court, and the Attorney General has followed him there, followed the company to the international court. That is to say, Isofoton has filed some processes at the International Court of Arbitration. So it is not as if the Attorney General has not put in place mechanism to retrieve the money. It has done that, but these other institutions and persons have also decided to avail themselves of the opportunity that is provided for by the law to try to thwart or even stop the process. So these are processes in court. You cannot jump them. You cannot wish them away. And so that is what I can tell you for now. But the Attorney General will be in a better position to give you more detailed information on this.
But what implications has this 14-day ultimatum got on the Ages Department?
No, the AG is not a party here yet. There are 14-day ultimatum to the Auditor General.
The Auditor General, yes.
Yeah. Okay, when you say AG, because I'm a lawyer,
You're thinking of Attorney General, yeah. You're talking Auditor General, yes.
Yeah, so for the Auditor General, no, in my view, it will not have any effect. It's just a letter, a mere letter, which has no legal backing or powers to do anything to him. He's not going to be prosecuted if 14 days elapses and he doesn't do anything. He will still be an Auditor General. What I think would happen if Occupy Ghana still insists on what they think is right will be that the matter will end up in court. And for me, that's the proper forum and the proper venue for this matter to be dealt with. But the 14 days will not have any effect on the Auditor General.
Would it make an impact if Occupy Ghana goes to court on this matter?
I think so, because I am of the view that Article 187 precludes them from doing what they are doing by giving ultimatums. The best place to go is the court. I thought that they would have even waived these letters that they are writing to the Auditor General and go straight to court. They have that right to go straight to court. It's only the Auditor General is subject to the court. So it's just like the EC. When the MPP asked the EC to stop declaring the result and they declared the result, they went to court. Because they are not subject to the control of anybody. Nobody can say, EC, stop doing this, or Auditor General, don't do this, because they are not under the control of anybody. I thought that straight away, Occupy Ghana should have just gone to court. And that, for me, was the proper thing to do. And if they are now going to court after 14 days, I think it is important that they go to court and have their claims being listened to.
Okay, so you enumerated some challenges facing the Attorney General's Department in retrieving some of these monies. But going forward, could you advise, or because it looks like the department is kind of overwhelmed with the whole issue, could you advise how to go on in retrieving such monies in a quicker manner?
No, I don't think they are overwhelmed. We have not been complaining about in these matters of retrieval of money. No. If you talk about generally cases that the Attorney General has to handle, yes. But in these particular cases, high-profile cases, such as the Wyoming, such as you notice that they are always spot on. If you are talking about the general case management or case loads that the Attorney General has to deal with, yes, I agree with you. You need to attract more lawyers to the Attorney General Department. You also need to improve upon their remuneration. You need to improve upon their library in terms of research work and all these things. So when you put all these things together, you'll be able to have a more efficient Attorney General Department. But for now, the remuneration is not attractive. Experienced lawyers do not want to go in there. I'm not saying the lawyers are not qualified. I said experienced lawyers. So if you want to attract the experienced ones, then you need to improve upon their conditions of service.
Well, we'd have to leave it here for the sake of time. That was Abraham Amaliba. Thank you very much, Abraham. And let me go back to Franklin, if you're on the line. Franklin, Abraham Amaliba just indicated that you could have gone to court straightforward rather than giving any 14-day ultimatum. Couldn't you have done that? What was the difficulty?
Well, I'm not too sure that Mr. Amaliba would also direct Occupy Ghana as to what to do. Don't forget that there is a public interest aspect of this particular case. For the first time that a constitutionally mandated body is being asked to do this work. And I think that it's something that the media should know, it's something that citizens should be aware, and citizens should be empowered that they can take on constitutionally mandated bodies. This is not a matter of directing constitutional body, and that indeed that constitutional body is not a law unto itself. So the fact that laws guide the functions of these institutions, every citizen is capable of taking any constitutionally mandated organization to court. Even the Supreme Court members can be taken to court. So I think that it is not the right. It is not right to suggest that nobody can take this to court. And then it is not even right to suggest that we should have just gone to court. You see, in democracies, this is how the laws are made in democracies. People challenge the officialdom, and through that, case laws are made. So for us, it is a matter of testing the law, as a matter of rising up to our responsibilities. And because it's a novel issue, it is important that the public gets to know. And tomorrow, somebody may wake up and take the assemblyman, or indeed may be empowered to take the DCE, or even the president to court.
Well, many thanks to you, Franklin Kujo, on that. I will be waiting to see you in court and see how the matters unfold. But Joy News will keep you updated. Up next is JNI.